Well, we are certainly in full swing in the crazy tax season here in Australia at the moment. And one of the things that's being searched for an awful lot on our blog and website, and also something we get asked a bit about, is a low income tax offset. And pretty consistently for a few years now, that seems to be the number one thing. I can't for the life of me figure out why. But it is, so let's look at what it is, how much it is, and whether or not you're going to qualify for it. So LITO is a tax offset that reduces the amount of tax you have to pay. Now, offsets are preferable to tax deductions in that tax deductions will just reduce your taxable income, but offsets are going to directly reduce your tax liability. The figures I'm using at the moment are for the 09-010 financial year. And the maximum offset is $1,350. Now, this is going to reduce for 4 cents in every dollar above $30,000 right up until it cuts out entirely at $63,750. Now, the tax-free threshold in Australia is $6,000. What LITO does is, in some ways, it effectively increases that tax-free threshold. So adults who are eligible for the full offset won't pay any tax until their taxable income is over $15,000. Now, for minders, for this income year, I think you'll find it's $3,000, which is good news if you're maybe operating through a trust and you have a few children who are beneficiaries or something like that. You can effectively dole out $3,000 to each of them, which would be completely tax-free. Will you get it? Well, first of all, you need to be an Australian resident for tax purposes. Non-residents generally aren't entitled to offsets and rebates, so we need to make sure that we're a resident for tax purposes. If your taxable income is under $30,000, you're going to get the maximum $1,350. If your taxable income is maybe above the $30,000 but under the cutout of $63,750, you'll get some of the low income tax offset. Now, if you wanted to actually calculate this out yourself, that's the maximum offset less 4% of whatever the amount you are above the $30,000 when we start to shade out. And if your taxable income is over the $63,750, bad news, you're not entitled to the low income tax offset. Now, unlike some other offsets and rebates, you don't need to apply for this one. So if you're doing your tax yourself on eTax or maybe using the tax paper return, the tax office will actually calculate your entitlement to LITO for you, and you should see that when you get your notice of assessment back from them. That should be reflected in there that they've given you the low income tax offset or a portion of. There's a few changes next year, this financial year really, which is the 2010-11 financial year. We're going to see a few things going up. So the maximum offset is going to increase to $1,500. And this is going to create an effective tax-free threshold of $16,000 for adults. That's not bad. And for minors, this will be $3,333. It's really important that you stay informed. Now, every year the tax office come out and say, oh, people aren't claiming everything that they're entitled to. So it's really important that you don't miss out on any tax offsets that you could be entitled to, okay? Now, the low income tax offset, not such a big deal because the ATO will actually calculate and apply that for you, but there certainly are a lot of other ones which when I speak to people, they either didn't know that they could claim something or they really didn't know how to. It seemed like too much effort. So what I might do, depending on what the feedback tells us from this clip, is I might actually run through and quickly go over all the offsets and rebates from the more basic education tax refund to other things which might be a little bit more complex, like net medical expenses, spouse super contributions, zone offsets, those kind of things. So if you want to see some of those, then you need to leave a comment for me so I know to do them, or you can get in contact with us. There's some details there on our blog. Catch up with us on Twitter or check out the Facebook page. Thanks for listening.